happening, everyone? So today's lesson, we're going to go through these exam questions, all about averages and stuff like that. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll talk you through them. Excuse me. And then give you a little bit of time to go over them, and then we'll go through them together on the video. Okay. So question 1. Last summer, Mr. Williams had 10 tomato plants like the one shown below. And I'll give you a nice picture of a tomato plant there if you really care about what they look like. The number of tomatoes that grew on each plant is given below. So on the first plant, he had 42 tomatoes on that one plant. On the second plant, he had 37. On the third plant, he had 48. I know that should hopefully be obvious, but it's really important that with any questions about data like this, that you understand what the numbers in front of you represent. Okay? That number represents that on the first tomato plant, there were 42 singular tomatoes. So if you counted them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, you would end up getting 42 from that first plant. Okay, so part A says, calculate the mean number of tomatoes on each plant. Okay, so think about how we figure out the mean. Add everything up, divide by how many there are, and there's your numbers. Okay, part B says, find the median number of tomatoes per plant. Hopefully you remember what the median is. That's where you put them in order and then find the middle. And then part C, what is the modal number of tomatoes per plant? Modal, whenever you see that word, just means figure out the mode. Okay. And then part D, more of a question where you understand what it is that you've calculated, not necessarily just know how to calculate something, but understand what it is you've calculated. Part D says, next summer, Mr. Williams plans to buy more tomato plants like the one above. He says, on average, I should get about 41 tomatoes from each plant. So this would mean that your average number of tomatoes was 41. So have a little look back at your answers for A, B, and C, and say, give a reason why he's probably correct. Okay. So pause the video, have a go at the questions, come back when you're ready, and we'll go through them together. So on part A, you should be adding all these things together. So 42, add 37, add 48, add 34, add 44, 41, add 39, add 42, add 38, add 45, equals, put them onto my calculator now, 42 plus 37 plus 48 plus 34 plus 44 plus 41 plus 39 plus 42 plus 38 plus 45 equals 410. Okay, there were 10 plants, so we now divide that by 10, and that gives me 41 as my mean average. Okay. Part B, find the median number of tomatoes per plant. Right, well, let's find the smallest number. So we've got 37 there, 34 there, anything smaller than 34? Nope. Okay, so we've got 34. I'm just got to underline the ones that I've done. 34, then is it 37? Yeah, then 37. Then 38, 39, 38, 39. We've got a 40. No, we've got a 41 and 42 and 42 though. $44, $45, $48. Okay, try and keep them all in one line, because what we need here, the median is in the middle, isn't it? So the way that I would do that is I'd start to cross off from either end. So because I've crossed everything off, effectively my median is there in the middle of those two, which means it's 41.5. Okay, and then part C, what is the modal number? So what's the mode of all these? So 42 has happened twice. Any other ones happened twice? No, it's 42. Okay. Part D, next summer, Mr. Williams plans to buy more tomato plants, and he says on average he's going to get 41 tomatoes from each plant. Give a reason why his data shows he's correct. Well, because the mean is 41. Okay, so that's what that means, isn't it? Like, on average, I should get 41. So one of the averages must have pointed towards it being 41. So it's that one. Could also sort of mention that one as well. And you could also mention that all of them are around about between 41 and 42. So 41 would be a decent estimate. Okay. But I think it would want you to mention that there. Okay. So well done if you got those. And let's have a little look at question 2. Right. The children in a primary school class were asked how many pets they each owned. The information was displayed on a vertical line graph as shown below. This thing is effectively just a bar chart, okay? So what this means, and again, before we get into the question, dead important, understand what this is telling you, okay? For example, understand what that 9 means. What does this bar tell us? Well, it tells us that 9 of these kids had no pets, okay? So 9 people had no pets. 6 people had 1 pet. 10 people had 2 pets, and 3 people had 3 pets. Okay, so that is what that graph is showing you. So what you now need to do is complete the frequency table below and calculate the mean number of pets per child. Okay, so the thing not to do here is to go 0, add 1, add 2, add 3 divided by 4. So and that's you mean that isn't right, because 0 has happened more times than 1 and 2 has happened more times than anything. So when we add them up, we need to take that into account. Okay, so when you get these questions, be very, very careful. The mean isn't always as simple as add up the numbers that you see and divide by how many numbers you see. It was on that one because we were just given a list of numbers. This time, because we've now got tabulated results or collated results that they're put into a table for us, we need to make sure that we understand what the table is showing before we do anything to calculate the mean. Okay, so that's why it's telling you to do this first. So let's fill this in. The number of pets, the options for number of pets were 0, 1, 2 and 3. So they would go there, and then your frequencies would go there. To figure out the mean, you would then need to add all of those numbers up. So you then need to add up 9 zeros, 6 ones, 10 twos and 3 threes, and then divide by how many students there were in the class altogether. Okay, so have a go at that now, please, and then come back to the video when you're ready. Pause the video now, have a go at it and come back when you're ready. Okay, so what you should have done, number of pets, 0, 1, 2 and 3, and there were 9 people who had no pets, lucky. There were 6 people who had 1 pet. There were 10 people who had 2 pets, and there were 3 people, lunatics, who had 3 pets. Okay. Now, after this, the way that you can do this, there's 2 ways. There's a quick way, and then there's the sort of long way. The long way is to write out what each row of this table means. 9 zeros. So you could go 0, add 0, add 0, add 0, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 equals nothing. And then, and then you're going to add up all the other rows underneath that. So 6 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 twos, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 3 threes, 1, 2, 3. Doing that would add everything up, okay? But the quick way of doing that is to multiply across your rows and add those numbers up. 0 times 9 is nothing. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 3 is 9. So 6 add 20 add 9 is 35 in total. Okay? You would get that there. We then need to decide how many students there are in this class. Okay? Now again, to do that, I could just count how many of these there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got them all the way through until I get to there. Or I could just add this up. 9 add 6 is 15. Add 10 is 25. So there are 28 students in the class. So the total number of pets is 35. The count of the students is 28. So if we do 35 divided by 28, that will give us our answer. Okay, 35 divided by 28, and that gives us 1.25. So on average, each student had 1.25 pets. Okay, so well done if you got that one right. have a look at question 3. Okay, question 3 is over 2 pages. So I'm just going to concentrate firstly on this page. We're going to do this, and then what I'll do is I'll sort of have to keep referring back to this table on the next page anyway. So part A, draw a grouped frequency table for these results. Okay, now whenever you do a grouped frequency table, what you need to do, sorry, a grouped frequency diagram. Okay, what you're going to draw is a frequency polygon. What that means is you're going to go to the midpoint, which would be 2.5 for the first one, and plot effectively a coordinate of 2.519. Okay, so 2.5 is going to be bang in the middle there, and 19 is going to be in the middle of these somewhere. So what we're going to have to do here is just check. So between 16 and 20, that's 4, isn't it? And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nasty, which means that each 2.5 blocks is worth 1 extra person. So if I go 2.5 down from the top to there and put a cross on the 5th line going across, that'll be halfway between 0 and 5. So that represents these first group there. Okay. The next one, and you're going to do that for the rest of it. Okay, and then basically just join it up. It'll look kind of like a mountain range type thing. Okay, so there's your first one. So do that for the rest of those, and then that is your frequency polygon there. Right, over the page, it asks you to calculate an estimate for the mean. Now we did this in the quiz on Monday. Okay, so what you're going to do then is you're going to do your midpoints. Go back to this table and you're going to work it out here and just write your answer there. Do your midpoints and then times across, add that column up and divide. Effectively, once you've got your midpoints, it's the same kind of working out that we did there. Times everything across, add that column up, add the frequency up and divide them. Okay? And then part C, write down the modal group, just means which group has the most pupils in it. Make sure you write down the actual inequality there. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at those questions, and then come back home marking together. So for part A, there's your first one. The next one is between 5 and 10, and it's at 17. So that's there. The next one is between 10 and 15, and it's at 10, which is going to be there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bang in the middle of that one's going to be there, isn't it? The next one is between 15 and 20, and it's at 5, which is going to be there. And the last one between 20 and 25 at 2 is there. Okay. What you then do is you join, or you should join all them up with a ruler. Just realised I haven't got a ruler anywhere. What can I use? I have to use my bank card. Turn that over in case anyone's trying to steal any money from me. And then all you're doing is just joining these things up with straight lines. Okay. Like that. Okay, so that is called a frequency polygon, when you've got little crosses and you just join them up. Right, over the page, calculate the mean and estimate for the mean time taken. So what you should be doing here is your midpoints that you've just used there, which were 2.5, 7.5, 12.5, 17.5 and 22.5, and then you multiply all of them across. So we do 19 times 2.5, which gives us 47.5. We do 17 times 7.5, which gives us 127.5. We do 10 times 12.5, which is 125. 5 times 17.5, which gives us 87.5. And 2 times 22.5, which is 45, I think, yeah, there. Right, we then add them up. So 45, add 87.5, add 125, add 127.5, add 47.5 equals 432.5. We then want to figure out how many pupils there are in total, so we're going to add them up. 19, add 17, add 10, add 5, add 2, which gives me 53. So we then divide this by 53. 432.5 divided by 53, and that gives me an answer of 8.16. Okay, now I can check that because the times go between 0 and 25, and if you look, most of the times the biggest number of pupils there got between 0 and 15. So somewhere around 8 would seem around about right for that. Okay. So final part, write down the modal group. Now the modal group is just whichever one of these categories has the most people in it. So it's the first one, isn't it? That's got 19. That's more than any of the groups. So I need to write this thing here as my answer. So I need to write 0 less than t, which is less than or equal to 5. Okay. So that's question 3 done. Let's have a look at question 4, final one for today. This one is a little bit of problem solving to do with the range and the mean. Okay, so Matthew was playing a game that uses a number of tiles. The game involves working out the range and mean of the numbers in 5 tiles. Matthew has these 5 tiles. With his final move in a game, he's got to replace 2 of his tiles with 2 different tiles. To win, he's got to keep the range the same, and he's got to increase the mean by 1. Okay. Fill in the numbers on the tiles below to show the 3 tiles he has kept and the new numbers on the 2 tiles he has changed if he is to win. Okay, so firstly, if he's going to keep the same range, it means, remember, the range is the biggest and the smallest number taken away. So if he's going to keep the same range, you're probably best off keeping the smallest number and the biggest number that are there. So at the minute, the range would be 15, take away 4, the range would be 11. So I would definitely keep those 2 numbers. Okay. The next thing I need to do, if I want to increase the mean by 1, remember that the mean is when we add everything up and divide by how many there are. So if you calculate the mean at the minute, you can see what it will have to be if you want to increase it by 1. Now remember, if the mean increases by 1, that is the same as every single number increasing by 1. Okay? So you would have to think carefully about how you can do that. The best way to do that is to think about your totals. Okay? Remember that the mean effectively is your total over the count. Okay? So if you want your mean to have increased by 1, once you've figured out what the old mean was, if you do that mean times 5, it'll tell you what the total is that you need to get to. And if you've got 2 numbers already, you can then figure out, well, which ones we're going to swap out and try and get to that total. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at that one. It's hard, this question, so if you get it right, genuinely really, really well done. Okay, I picked a really tricky one here. So pause it, have a go, come back when you're ready. Okay, so I'm going to keep the 4 and a 15 because that means that my range stays at 11 right the way throughout this. Okay, it also means that I can't put in any tiles bigger than 15 or smaller than 4 because that would affect the range. The next thing I'm going to do is figure out what the mean is to start off with. So I'm going to do 8, add 4, add 12, add 11, add 15. Now that gives me 50. So I then divide it by the fact that there's 5 tiles, which gives me 10. Okay, so that is my mean. That is Matthew's mean at the minute. So he wants to change his mean to 11. Which means that you would have to do a number divided by 5 to get 11. You would have to do your total divided by 5 to get 11. So if I do 11 times 5, it tells me what the total is that I need. So I need these 5 numbers to add up to 55. So the best way to figure out what numbers you want and which ones you can keep and things like that is to just do 55. Take away the 2 numbers that you are definitely keeping, so minus 4, minus 15. Let's see where we're up to with that. 55 minus 4 minus 15 gives me 36. Okay, so because 36 is quite a big number, I'm going to choose to keep the biggest number that I've got out of these three, which is 12. So I'm going to choose 12 there. So I'm going to take away 12 from that. That gives me 24 left. So what I need now is two numbers that are between 4 and 15 that add up to 24. Okay? Two numbers that are between 4 and 15 that add up to 24. So what I could do is, and I can't use 8 and 11, can I? Because that would mean that I'm only changing. Okay, so I need two numbers between 4 and 15 that aren't 8, 12 or 11 and that add up to 24. That narrows it down quite a bit, so it's going to have to be 10 and 14. Okay, those two numbers there, you could have had something else if you wanted to, or you could have done that basically in the same way if you wanted to. If you've got a different combination of numbers there, what you need to do to check that you've got it right is figure out the range of the numbers, and as long as the range is still 11, then you're fine. So that's the biggest number, that's the smallest number, 15 take away 4 is 11, it's fine. And as long as your mean equals 11 as well. Okay, so add them all up. 9 comes to 55, divide them by 5, and that gives me a mean of 11. Okay, so if you've got a different combination there, you can check it to see if you've got it right by just figuring out the range of your numbers. It should be 11. Figuring out the mean of your numbers, it should be 11. And if they're both that, then you've got it right. Okay, well done.